All right, in terms of attendance, we have all committee members here but Councillor Jonik. So I'd like to move a leave of absence for Councillor Jonik. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kunzelman. Any discussion on that leave of absence? There being none, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. We will move on to our acknowledgement of country this morning. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land upon which we meet. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging as the keepers of the traditions, cultures and stories of a proud people. Do any members of the committee this morning have a declaration of interest to make? There being no declarations, I'll move on to business outstanding. There's none. We'll go to confirmation of minutes. Do any members of the committee wish to move that? That's moved by the Mayor, seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion from the committee? All right, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour of adopting the minutes? That's unanimous and carried. We'll move on to our first officers' report this morning and get our teeth into that. That's a procurement matter for the renewal of liquid petroleum gas for Bundamba, Goodna and Leichhardt Aquatic Centres. Do any members of the committee have questions on this matter? There being no questions, I'll see if any of you would like to move it this morning. Moved by Councillor Doyle, seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion from the committee? All right, there being no discussion, I'll put it to the vote that the recommendation A and B be accepted. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Item 3 this morning is the renewal of lease Kiosk 1, Carolee Shopping Village, 39 Junction Road, Chua. For clarity, I believe that's where the library pod is at Carolee. Do any members of the committee have questions on this report this morning? Mayor Harding, I'd like to call on the relevant officer, Ms. Perrott. Or Mrs.? Correct me if it's Mrs., I'm sorry. Miss. I don't get a cheat sheet for that.
Good morning, councillors and Mr. Tabulo. Kerry Perrott, Acting Property Services Manager.
Through the chair, thank you, Ms. Perrott. Just looking at the amount of the annual rent of $23,766. I guess I'm wanting to know how we came to that figure, and is that different to our previous arrangement? I know it's very attractive, and I know it's brought a lot of people to the Carolee Shopping Village. Are we able to get a better deal for the ratepayers?
It's on the existing terms and conditions of the current lease. It's market rent, which is what we pay on our library locations also. Gone are the days when we pay peppercorn rent for library facilities. These shopping centre owners now expect market rent.
Right. Okay, thank you, Ms. Perrott.
Any further questions from the committee? Thank you, Ms. Perrott.
Thank you.
Would any members of the committee like to move recommendation A through C this morning? Councillor Milligan, seconded by Councillor Kunzelman. Any discussion? Mayor?
I don't know if you were to, but I just think it's a fantastic pod. The chair, it's won awards just last year as well. It's well used. Whenever I'm up there, you see people picking up books, and it's a really great facility. So I think it's a really good service for the people of Carolee, Barallan Point, and that part of Ipswich. So I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Any further discussion? There being no further discussion, I'll put recommendations A through C to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Item 4 today is another procurement matter, the ARC-GIS. I think it's ARC-GIS software licensing, maintenance and online credits. Do any members of the committee have questions on this matter? There being no questions, I'll see if anybody wishes to move it this morning. Recommendation A and B. Moved by Mayor Harding. Any seconder? Councillor Kunzelman. Any discussion?
If I may, Chair, I'm just delighted we're going with ArcGIS, an open source spatial system, as opposed to, I think we've got quite a customised bespoke solution at the moment. So just delighted that we're moving into a space where our technology is more open. We'll be able to be easy for us to hire people, but also that our software will be more interactive and interoperable with other systems as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Do any other committee members wish to speak to the matter? That being the case, I'll put recommendation A and B to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. We'll move on to our next procurement matter for the morning. We have one Music Australia licence for the use of music for councils. Do any members of the committee have questions on this matter? There being no questions, I'll seek a mover. Councillor Doyle. We have a seconder in Mayor Harding. Any discussion this morning? I'd just add that I actually think that it's very good that we're being appropriate on here. Recording artists aren't often paid for their work properly, and it's a big difference to people to be paid for their work in the creative fields. Very good to see that we're above board on this, because not everybody is. There's a lot of unsolicited playing of music in public, and I'm very happy that council's above board on that. No further discussion. That being the case, I'll put recommendation A and B to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Items 6 and 7 today were late reports. We'll move on to item 6 first, obviously. We've got an iVolve project quarterly status update. Do any members of the committee, Mayor Harding?
Good morning, Sylvia Swelling, Chief Information Officer.
Through the Chair, Ms Swelling, thank you very much. This is obviously a very important project for our council as we move forward. What are the areas that you think that we're doing quite well in? What areas are you concerned about?
Certainly at the moment we have multiple streams of work that are designed to deliver the Stage 3 objectives. We have the recent impacts of the flooding, which means that the priorities of council's subject matter experts in some of the business requirements workshops have been redirected. This has the potential to cause some slippage to the schedule, and we're just monitoring what the possible knock-on effects of that might look like. It's a little too early to tell. Obviously, we'll be reporting those to ELT and to other stakeholders, so it's just something we're watching and reporting on at the moment. That's creating a high level of visibility across council as we start to really engage officers in the development of those functional requirements. Obviously, we've got the procurement component. That's a major piece of work that's also in flight. Requires significant consultation across council as well. The change impact assessments, again, that's an area that we're running quickly on. I just am mindful that there are a lot of people who are under constraint at the moment, and we're just monitoring what that's going to look like and what the potential impacts could be for the project milestone dates. We also have an assurance gate that is currently being drafted and will be submitted for ELT consideration in March. I think that will be an important milestone for the project as well, where we're really reviewing some of the schedule implications, our state of readiness, and other critical criteria as well.
Okay. And I think a few months ago we put on it as a business partner.
Yes.
Or how has that been going?
So we've gone with a hybrid model where we've actually sourced a program director and embedded that. We're trying to get as much knowledge sharing as much capability building. So the resource plan has a mix of experts who are embedding with council and a lot of council officers as well. So we're trying to build that collaboration and get greater buy-in. That will be critical to the success of the organisational change as well. That's working well. We are seeking ways to improve that, and one of the deliverables in stage 3 is the creation of working groups to support the transformation activities, and you'll be seeing more about that over the next quarter. We also have the strategic advisor on board. That is a critical role for council. From an assurance perspective, that function provides support to the executive team and to those of us who are leads in this space. They're a great resource in relation to our audit and risk function as well. I have personally found them to be of significant value to the project.
Do we have enough expertise, both in-house but also contracted in, to do the project, or are we still looking at addressing some of those skills gaps?
I think the state of readiness is something that we need to seriously consider, and we are, through the assurance gate, we have called out some of the risks that are known in that space. How we are going to treat and address those risks needs to be qualified.
Okay.
And from the governance perspective, the assurance reporting that should be occurring through March will give visibility to those issues.
Okay. Thank you, CIO. Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions from the committee this morning?
Did I hear you mention that there was cultural change required? Did I hear you mention there was cultural change required as well?
Yes,
Do you want
significant
to expand
cultural
on that?
change. Any program of work like this actually is a transformation project. There is a significant technology component. That is the enabler and the facilitator of change. But the real transformation occurs as business areas across council lean into the objectives, which is to change the way we work, to contemporise the way we work, to really leverage our technology tools into more effective and improved ways of working. So in order for that change to happen, it needs to be business-led. So there are multiple streams of work to support that outcome, and it's critical to the success of achieving the benefits that this project is required to deliver, that transformation component is well articulated, clearly understood, and receives a high level of sponsorship and engagement across council.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, if I may make a comment for the committee's benefit, certainly the project has got significant overview by the executive leadership team at the present time. And while we're all committed to delivering to the 30th of June deadline, given some of the comments from the CIO, I just want to give the early heads up that we will not jeopardise quality for a deadline. That if we feel that we cannot get the right product ready by that deadline, we will come to council as soon as we can to say we need to extend it by a period of time. Simply, we just want to make sure we get the product right. Given Councillor Kunzelman's comments about cultural change and the impact on the organisation, it is extensive, and it will be extensive over many years. And this stage 3, is quite critical to setting the foundations. And so it will be at the request or the pleasure of the committee and council to consider that variation to the milestone if it's needed in the next couple of months.
Thank you, CEO. Acting CEO, sorry. That being the questions, I'll seek a committee member who's willing to move this. Mayor Harding, seconded by Councillor Milligan. Any discussion, Mayor?
If I may. Thank you, Chair, and I thank you for the your advice as well, Acting CEO. With any large IT project, I've been really pleased with the strategic approach we've taken. We haven't just run down a rabbit hole for a certain technology solution. We've actually looked very carefully what the business needs are and what's available. And noting with any IT project, you're always going to have legacy systems. You're never going to have everything all brand new. So it's how we get all that together to improve services. We need value for money for our residents and improve services for our residents. So that's very much the focus of this council, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any further comments from the committee discussion? That being the case, I'll put the recommendation to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. We'll move on to our last item of business for today's meeting, the quarterly reports to the Department of State Development, Infrastructure, Local Government and Planning. We've got a draft letter and quarterly performance reports in this one. Does any members, apologies, do any members of the committee have questions relating to this matter? All right, I'll seek a committee member willing to move it. We've got Mayor Harding, seconded by Councillor Doyle. Any discussion this morning? Mayor Harding?
Major Chair, just put the report into context. Obviously, we were in interim administration for 20 months and then had an advisor appointed by the state government for 12 months. And when that 12-month period ceased, the Deputy Premier, who's our relevant minister, asked us to provide these quarterly reports. And I think they're a really good snapshot of the organisation and how we're progressing. So just seek the endorsement from the committee for this quarterly report.
Thank you, Mayor. Any further discussion this morning on the matter before us? There being no discussion, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. There's no notices of motion or matters arising this morning, so I will close the meeting at 11:15 with the next meeting to start in 10 minutes.